Tapping in.
Are we live?
When we talk on what it takes to motivate people to do something that motivated me immensely was reading on LeBron James being the first active NBA billionaire. And I guess right now you can hit that stumble upon drop and some bombs and some cheers and some whatever for LeBron James, because man, that's a black man doing great black excellence, and we always support that over here.
That's right.
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And if I'm going to have to go ahead and pull from the Reuters, we're reading this fresh off of Reuters. You know, over here at the All the Way Live podcast, man, we like to share. We like to encourage people to actually read articles instead of just getting what my brother likes to call, what was the terminology that you used? For quick image, for quick news, scroll news, I believe you referred it to, or something to that effect.
I don't remember, but what we do always encourage is reading.
Yo, nigga, your brother told us how you be all into reading and shit. Hey, that's some real good shit, my nigga, for real. Congratulations, nigga.
LeBron James recently achieved something no one has done before. He's now the first active player in NBA history to become a billionaire. His financial success can be chalked up to a number of different factors. Aside from his contract with Los Angeles Lakers, James has reportedly invested wisely and racked up lucrative endorsements throughout his career. The news first dropped on Thursday, and if we're getting right into the breakdown of it, what it looks like is James earned $330 million for his on-court since being drafted in 2013. This means that the rest of his money comes from endorsement, merchandise, his licensing, his media business, and acting. He also received critical praise for a minor role, playing a fictional version of himself in Amy Schumer's film Trainwreck from 2015. James earns more than $100 million a year through partnerships with AT&T, Beats, Blaze Pizza, GMC, Nike, Pepsi. James, along his longtime business partner Maverick Carter, become partners in Fenway Sports Group, which owns the Boston Red Sox, Liverpool Football Club, Fenway Racing, amongst other businesses. 36 years old. That's black excellence right there, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely. They left out Space Jam, which is weird. But
yeah, that's wild, because that's what definitely did him. Yeah. That's definitely what did him. But it's not him dominating and being in every finals except for a few since 2003.
I'm just saying, if you're gonna list the accolades, let's prioritize here. But no, that's amazing for LeBron. That's amazing for a lot of reasons, and especially what we'll get into and what it means for like black billionaires. And I can think of a couple that I fuck with more than the fucks going to space. but we'll get there. I
just realized what I did now as I looked down. I was like, oh man, I messed up the order. Yo, people, there's order to this show, okay? There's order to this show. And sometimes what Zway doesn't do is list the topics correctly on pre-production. And here we are.
but I think that's actually great, because it opens up the conversation for us to even like not necessarily compare, because first and foremost, LeBron is a billionaire. Period. Full stop. That's the headline. That's amazing. Congrats to him. Congrats to him doing that with an emphasis on having a black team, from lifting up his peoples. Shout out to Maverick Carter and everybody that's been a part of his business. I love that there is a second blueprint, if we can allude to other billionaires that we appreciate. You know what I'm saying? Because I think we talked about last week, even in, funnily enough, talking about Space Jam, the I Promise School. That is the thing that LeBron has done that means the most to me, right? But when you first read that headline, like, what was the significance? How did it hit you? How did it strike you?
I'm a big supporter of black wealth, right? What I do know is it'll take a conscious effort of those of us that have the most resources, and when I say us, I mean Black people, people of color, or in, you know, anybody's specific individual communities. It would take those that have the most resources to focus those resources on developing the community through political, through political initiatives, much like what Van Jones is doing. And I would love to actually get to talk about that with you, seeing the amount of the sponsorship and donation that he's gotten from Elon Musk. So there's the political approach. There is the education approach. There is scholarship approach. There's so many different things that we need to do in order to increase the opportunities for people that don't have, in order to participate or at least have a foundation that's of equal standing when it comes to education, when it comes to business acumen, or even sports capabilities, you know? So when I see that, it really does motivate me in, first of all, for him to be so young at 36 to do it, we need to see more of that, right? The trend and the wave of billionaires becoming younger is something that I think should be prevalent in the Black community.
Mm, mm. So as you talk about those different channels through which those who reach that kind of that financial echelon can operate through, whether it's education, whether it's giving people opportunities in housing, whether it's giving people financial opportunities and investing in people and in the communities that you came from or that you see that are in need. Where does going to space fall into what billionaires can do for the rest of us? And not and do billionaires owe us anything?
And that's the conversation that I've been seeing a lot of people have, right? And the main conversation that people are having is saying, listen, it costs so much for these people to go up in space. We have Musk going to space. We have Richard Branson going to space. We have Jeff Bezos now going into space in what is evidently a very phallic spaceship. I don't know who did the design on that, but it is what it is. The question, what a lot of people are saying is, there's so much happening now. When I was watching this, actually, I was with my uncle, one of my uncles, and you know, he's also a man of the people. And when he say, he goes, man, there's people across the street that have absolutely nothing, right? Is it fair? My question to you, Miles Xavier, is it fair to tether financial success with a responsibility of prioritizing giving to others, as opposed to furthering our understanding of astrological sciences, for instance?
I think it depends on if you're talking about in a moral sense or if you're talking about in a societal sense, right? Because in a societal sense, I think at a certain point, people who make that much money do have an obligation to give it back, right? I think at a certain point, our idea of capitalism in terms of trickle-down economics begins to fail if we say that there is no responsibility at all for those who have the share of resources and have accumulated those, not to redistribute them in any way. Morally, it's a different question. Morally, you can say, hey, nobody helped them get that, except maybe their wives, in which case we've seen a lot of billionaires.
You better give half. You better give half.
Take their share and go. But I think morally you could say they made their money or whatever. But then I think when you turn around and look at promises you made in terms of capitalism to the people that aren't billionaires or millionaires, right? The vast majority of us, then you have a disconnect, right? Because a lot of us on the lower scale of that system have been told that things will be arranged through taxes and through different stipends and through different subsidies that will mean that life will be easier for all of us, you know, even though we've allowed these people to access that wealth. And I think that you start to see the cracks in that and the lies in that when on the flip side you say, they can do whatever they want with their money, period.
So with Jeff, the Bezos situation, right? A lot of the things that people are saying is that, look, people in the Amazon warehouses aren't getting paid enough. People are getting underpaid. The work conditions are terrible. The story goes on regarding how unpleasant it's reported to being to work in Amazon. So it cost that particular flight an estimated $28 million in order to achieve, which really is a fraction, which really is a fraction, of what his net worth is, and whatever the case is. $28 million is very, very small. So in that sense, like, I understand it, right? In that sense, where people are like, hey man, this person doesn't pay his workers are complaining, and now this person is using this capital to go into space for a few seconds in a cowboy hat and comes back down. I could see how people could interpret that as an issue. What about, say, for instance, someone like Richard Branson, who is a philanthropist of note, who has, for all intents and purposes, all the companies that he has created are those that seem to focus on the human aspect of it. We're talking Virgin Records, Virgin Atlantic, Virgin Active, Virgin Space.
I think you're in dangerous territory saying that a record company had focused on the human aspect, but
okay, yeah. Let's cut that out. But if I'm looking at Virgin Active, Virgin Galactic, and Virgin Airways, it does seem to that you don't hear as loud of complaints, right? Is that person equally as responsible? It's not for me to say. And it's, as somebody that appreciates the greater sciences, and as somebody that appreciates the value that we can derive from understanding not just where we're sitting, not just the rock that we're on now, but how it interacts with the greater outer space. That's something that I'm very fascinated in. What I would much rather it be the billionaires who are doing it than government that's doing it. Let me put it that way. I'd rather have it be a race between billionaires than a race between governments.
Interesting. I'll have to think about that a little bit more. Whether I would prefer for it to be a race between billionaires or a race between government. But I think that when it comes to someone like Branson, yeah, it's not for you or I to say whether a certain amount of philanthropy equals a certain amount of, I'm going to just make it rain in whatever way that is to you, whether that's literally going into space, whether that's throwing money in a club. An important conversation is just that all eyes are on this race to space, and I think it's just, and that's being had, which is just and provide what we, whether or not these people in our society, right? You know what I mean? I think of not too long ago when Donald Trump was seen as the epitome of having money. And you know what I'm saying? If going to space was the big flex, well, Donald Trump's golden toilet or whatever was the equivalent of that. And he was in rap lyrics and he was being lifted up as, I'm balling like Trump. And we see what happens when that type of person, that persona, when we see that this person has made a lot of money and therefore they are someone to be listened to be given a platform, to be, lifted up and appreciated. It's important for us to look at what they're doing with that money and just take that into account.
How am I coming through with the feedback on my side? There was a section there where it was very bad.
Everything's a little.
Yeah.
Everything was. There was one earlier too, but.
Yeah, thanks for playing through that. The good thing about having both videos is that at least I can grab your audio correctly and dub that over. You know what I mean?
Let me know how that process goes, because there are probably going to be spots where your audio is the better one to use.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to play with that like that. I'm gonna have to play with that.
Yeah.
But as you're saying, that was something that I heard a lot of people say, and correction. It cost $28 million for a seat to be on that flight, but it cost $5.5 billion in order for Bezos to go up into the space for 4 minutes. Right? It was literally like a bungee jump. It kind of looked like if you've ever seen a slingshot with the dildo, and you shoot it, and that's what that looked like.
Well, since we've reached the territory of slingshot dildos, another fun fact is that for the premiere of Rick and Morty season 5, they actually launched one of the space balloons, much less expensive. It was only carrying this recreation of the Rick and Morty spaceship with Rick and Morty in it, with a TV playing the episode. So I guess if you were watching Adult Swim for the premiere of Rick and Morty, you saw this thing take off and then start playing the episode from in the spaceship as it actually went into space. It's a pretty cool YouTube video. But
that's pretty cool.
Super random.
It adds to the space debris, but that's a whole different conversation.
No, it comes back down. It comes back down. So it goes up and you watch it come back down through the atmosphere and land. And the video is still playing. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Bro, I'm not against people. Look, I'm not against people trying to find out what's happening out in space. You know, I did too. Look, man.
Okay.
We need to know.
I don't think Jeff Bezos and them are figuring out what's happening in space. Send Neil deGrasse Tyson 4 times, and that's more useful than sending 4 billionaires.
I mean, look, the whole concept, right, is that every attempt that we make at going into space is going to make the next one ideally cheaper, the next one ideally more efficient, and have different applications on how to be able to get past that. So if you look at how Bezos's one was, just kind of flew up and came back down, where Richard Branson was he was let go off of a second carrier flight that just dropped them off, and they were gliding and then came down, whereas a different trajectory than the Bezos one. All of those things lead to the different ways in which we can explore. And if that is where the pull for us to continuously explore this rock and where we stand in it takes us to, so be it. But we cannot forget that the cost that it takes to do that at the same time is ignoring a lot of the people that would deeply require those same resources to come up out of the situations that they're in, and then make it cheaper for everybody in the future to get the space. But here we are.
Yep. Yeah, and so put your thoughts in the comments, man. Whether you think we should be exploring space, whether you think that money should be used to end world hunger or export sea, or whatever you think it should be. Make sure you comment your thoughts and subscribe to the channel, man. That was our stumble upon, man. I think we got more art. Is that true? Is that the case?
We do, man.